Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Amy. Today, I am talking to my friend, Gretchen Rubin, whom you all know as one of today's most influential observers of happiness and human nature. Gretchen is the author of many best-selling books, including the blockbuster New York Times bestsellers Outer Order, Inner Calm, The 4 Tendencies, Better Than Before, and The Happiness Project. Gretchen's books have sold more than 3.5 million copies worldwide in more than 30 different languages. Gretchen also hosts the top-ranked award-winning podcast Happier with Gretchen Rubin, where she explores practical solutions for living a happier life. Gretchen was raised in Kansas City and lives in New York City with her husband and 2 daughters. Today, we'll be discussing Gretchen's latest best-selling book, Secrets of Adulthood, Simple Truths for Our Complex Lives. Welcome, Gretchen.
I'm so happy to be talking to you, Amy. I would love any chance to talk to you.
I love talking to you. And you and I are at the similar point in our lives of what most people call the empty nest and what you call the open door. That's not specifically in this book, but let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us about the concept of the open door.
Yes, I've just embarked on this phase, and my next major project is going to be Project Empty Nest, to really embrace this reckoning of adulthood that so many of us experience. But you're right. I don't like the metaphor empty nest, and people talk about being bird launchers or whatever, but I really wanted to get away from that metaphor. So I thought about it. And then I hit on open door because I thought it captured kind of the threshold quality of this transition point. And also this idea that people are coming and going, because it's not like they're coming back for vacation. Sometimes they come back to live. There's all kinds of comings and goings. But my husband and I are also more free to leave. So there's sort of the freedom of the open door. Though I have to confess, we just got a puppy. And so now I'm like, oh, my fantasies are now I can just be spontaneous and take off at any time. I'm like, no, because I just got a puppy. But in theory, if Jamie was home, I could take off and do whatever I wanted. I like that metaphor much better.
And you have a puppy because you want a puppy, not because, the kids would really like one and you're doing it for somebody else.
Well, I have to say we were kind of bullied into getting a puppy, I will say, by our daughters who do not live at home, but they wanted one so badly. And they made such a persistent case. I think they just manifested the puppy. The puppy had a name. They were talking, all these things. And then finally it was just oh, so when are we getting this puppy? Yeah. So as all the happiness research suggests, it's so fun to have a puppy. There's so much energy. There's so much whimsy and adventure. And every day it's something new. And it is really fun to have a puppy.
You do have the space, at least, because when I had my dog is 12 years old now and she's a wonderful animal. But her puppy stage, my kids were 8, 7, 3, I think. I did not have the bandwidth to enjoy it, right? It just was something else I had to manage to get through. And I look back on that wow, I missed it. I missed the whole reason of getting a dog from birth, right? Is so you can enjoy the puppy stage. And I didn't at all.
It's so funny that you say that because, we have a 10-year-old dog, Barnaby, who's very chill and easy at this point. And I was literally having that thought to myself, which was with both of my daughters and with Barnaby, I feel like I was and I get very focused on the rules and am I doing everything right? And am I screwing up? And what if they miss their nap? And, it's all those things. And I was remember the regret that I felt later, that in the end, if you miss one nap, it goes away. You can't ruin a dog or a kid in one afternoon. And it seems like you're going to be dealing with these issues forever, but like the days are long, but the years are short, and they do move on so quickly. And I was reminding myself, really put down my phone, put down my to-do list, and just throw that stick for an hour because it's so cute. It's just so incredibly cute, and it will
The
pass.
days are long, but the years are short. I've heard you say that for years, and it's certainly something I have internalized and believed for myself, not as something to sort of feel bad about each day that you're not appreciating, but just it's to keep in mind for the long haul. And I feel like that's the sort of point of view that we offer the people who listen to this podcast. Like, we're ahead of you, and we're here to tell you it doesn't stop being fun, or but it does go fast, or whatever. These lessons that you want to impart to people who are maybe not as far along on the journey as you are. And you really want...
Or to myself, I need to remind myself of these
Well,
lessons.
I guess that's true.
I feel like I'm relearning the same lessons constantly, so I'm like, write them down so I don't forget the hard one, wisdom.
That's one of the points of this book, are these aphorisms are things that we need to hear over and over again for ourselves. And that's why making them pithy is sticky. But I was thinking about this,
Oh, I like that. They're sticky because they're pithy.
They're sticky.
It's an approximate rhyme. I'll take it. And that's the fluency heuristic, that if things are easy to remember, they have more power than mind. And that's a very aphoristic way to talk about the power of brevity, which is, if it's pithy, it's sticky.
I never heard of the fluency heuristic, but we have totally talked in this show about how, like in my house when my kids were little, no feet where we eat, that if it rhymed, they didn't argue with it. If you could come up with and make it pithy, make it sticky, and then the rule is the rule, whether or not it's literally like, decoupaged over your dining room table. Kids don't argue with something that rhymes. So tell us about the fluency heuristic. Is that...
Well, the fluency heuristic is just that. It's so the idea that something that like comes easily into the mind seems to have more power. And this is why rhyming has power, why alliteration has power, brevity, like if there's something very short that you can say, it just makes it easier. Like a stumble may prevent a fall, right? There's a little bit of paradox there, or a little bit of tension there. It's very short. And so it's easier to remember. But so, yeah, if you say something like, if it bleeds, it leads, then it's like a journalist is like, oh, that's easy for me to remember. Yeah. And so I actually, as I've learned more and more about it, I'm kind of surprised that we don't use more of the fluency heuristic, or like turning memorized information into song. Because if, about things that, we the people,
yes.
When you know the song, you can sing it,
right.
Where it would be very hard to memorize it. And I think we kind of underuse this as a principle. So the fluency heuristic is really valuable. Now, I have to say with these aphorisms, I did not strive for rhyme or I do have alliteration in one. One of my alliteration ones is the bird, the bee, and the bat all fly, but they use different wings, which I was very proud of myself that I got the alliteration in there. But rhyming is kind of, I guess, whimsical. And I was trying to have a more elevated tone with my Secrets of Adulthood. But it would be fun to do, if you get what you get and you don't get upset.
Exactly. That's the most classic example. But there's something about this aphorisms, whether or not they rhyme, you in this book use the aphorism as a structure. So let's drill down on that. What exactly is an aphorism? You think you do.
Yeah, nobody knows what an aphorism is, which is why it's not in the title. It's not in the title or the subtitle, because nobody knows what an aphorism is. So an aphorism is, in its classic form, is a brief statement that is a general observation about human nature that is attributed to a particular person. So there's folk wisdom that we all know, which is like, you're only as happy as your least happy child, which you can agree with or disagree with, but it's certainly a proverb that we've all heard. Or one of my favorites is, sailors fear fire more than water. What does that mean? Anyway, that's a proverb. It's folk wisdom. It's floating around in the world. It's not attributed to Mark Twain or Warren Buffett or La Rochefoucauld or Oscar Wilde. We know who said it originally. And so in these aphorisms, I was trying to say in a very pithy and sticky and elegant, short sentence or two, try to really make some observation. And my Secrets of Adulthood are all things that are kind of useful for making a decision or dealing with a relationship or getting yourself to do something. They're meant to be useful like that. They're not mere observations.
And these are aphorisms that you've been collecting for years. Is that right? Or did you create some new for this book specifically?
Well, I have been collecting other people's aphorisms for probably like almost my whole life. And starting with, I would say, the Happiness Project, I was really trying to write more aphoristically myself, really trying to challenge myself to, if I had a big idea, to really crystallize it into a sentence or two if I could. But I've been doing that more and more and more and more consciously. And finally I was like, wow, I could maybe write a book of these. And then I was really trying to think as aphoristically as I could. The problem is, to write an aphorism, you have to have an idea. You have to have an insight. And it's hard to have ideas. Amy, I don't know if you've noticed this. It's hard to have an idea.
And then have another one and another one.
Yeah. And so yeah, fortunately, I've been working on these and collecting these for a very long time, because I don't think I could have just sat down and in 2 months, like, written 200. Because in this book, these are all my original ones. I have collections of my favorites from other people, which I quote like constantly, to probably the great annoyance of the people who are around me. But so for these, I've been working on them for years. And then they took a huge amount of editing. You would be surprised at kind of or maybe you wouldn't as a writer yourself, it's harder to write short than to write long, and to like get it exactly right in a short amount of space is very challenging. That's part of why it's creatively fun.
You talk about that in the book, actually, that if you can't explain the thesis of your book or, the point of your musical in few words, you're not ready, right? That it's not ready if you can't explain what it is.
Well, and here's an aphorism for that. Linton Strachey said, the truest test of a man's intelligence is his ability to make a summary. And I think there's a lot to that.
Okay. I'm talking to Gretchen Rubin about her new book, Secrets of Adulthood, and we'll be right back. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
So Gretchen, I wanted to talk to you about the idea that these aphorisms provoke reflection, which I thought was a really interesting, I hadn't thought of it that way before, that there's this idea that they should be pithy so that you can remember them, but that they should also provoke reflection and maybe even disagreement. So tell us about that.
Yeah, because I think because they are so short, you can hold them in the mind and you can really think, what does this mean? What are some examples of this? How do I interpret this? Do I even agree or do I disagree? I think there are some here probably that people will disagree with. And it's interesting, when you write a book, you never know how it's going to be received. And one of the things that has surprised me, because I did not anticipate this, is people are using this as kind of a conversation starter. People will pull it out around the table and read one at random and discuss it. Or somebody was saying that she and her husband were going back and forth on their date night, discussing them, or that they were using them as a way to talk about values with their children, because it's sort of an impersonal way to talk about, well, what do you think about that? And so that's been really interesting for me, because I really thought of them as something that a person would read, maybe just a few at a time and think about. Or if they're like me, I will sit down and read a whole book of aphorisms, but I'm not sure that everybody's like that. But they are meant to ask you to think, well, do you think of this? And you might even interpret it completely differently. Here is an example. So a secret of adulthood that I have to tell myself all the time is working is one of the most dangerous forms of procrastination. And what I meant by that as a nonfiction writer, which is that I can sometimes get drawn into things that look like work because I am not sitting on the sofa watching reruns of The Office or talking to my sister on the phone, but maybe I'm doing research. But I'm allowing myself to spend more and more time in research because I don't really feel like actually working on the original writing of a draft, which is my true work. I'm sitting here, what I'm supposed to be doing is working on my draft, but what I'm actually doing is poking around on the internet.
Right. Just checking one more source. Right.
Yeah. And you can do this forever. So I had a friend who was like, I've been thinking a lot about changing fonts. And I was like, let me stop you right there. That's not work. You're screwing around. So that's what it meant to me. But then I had talked about it on the Happier podcast, and a listener wrote in and said, oh, I had a different interpretation of that secret of adulthood. I feel like for me, I feel very comfortable and confident in my workplace, but I feel I have a lot of difficulties in my personal life. And there's a lot of things that I don't feel like facing or dealing with that I know I need to deal with. And so I often will turn to work because it seems productive and I feel good there, instead of really putting in the time and the energy to dealing with all these issues that I've got in my personal life. So she's like, for me, working is one of the most dangerous forms of procrastination about like sort of getting my house in order. And I thought, well, that is such an interesting twist on it, because I 100% can see how that would be a reading of it. But it's not a reading that I thought of myself. But now I'm like, it's got two. And I think that's true of many, maybe because they're short, they permit more ambiguity to be interpreted according to your own insights and observations and experience.
Right. And you come to them.
I
imagine looking through this book, I mean, certain ones jumped out at me, certain other ones would jump out at somebody else, because what's in front of the page, where you're bringing to it,
yes,
is exactly what you're looking for. Like, that really helps me. So you say in the book, the right aphorism at the right time can change our lives.
Yes. I mean, we've all experienced that.
Margaret and I each have one that anybody who's listened to this podcast for a long time will be like, oh, I've heard that story 10 times, because we keep bringing up the same like lightning bolt. And mine was, I was trying to decide when I was a year out of college, I was doing a theater internship, and I had the opportunity to do another theater internship, like bus and truck for a year, or to move to New York and, start hitting the pavement. And I just couldn't decide. And it seemed so terribly important at 22, right? That this is like the most important decision anybody will ever make. Couldn't decide. And this older actor was overhearing me, and just sort of offhandedly, he said, you make a decision, and then you make that decision the right decision to have made.
Mm-hmm.
That guy did not even remember that conversation 10 minutes later, right? But that, like, I think about that every day. And Margaret has another story that she tells about somebody telling her that people don't think about her as often as she thinks they do. And freedom comes from realizing that.
That's called the spotlight effect.
So, all right. So tell us about the spotlight effect.
So the spotlight effect is exactly what Margaret is saying, which is that people feel like people are paying a lot more attention to them than they are. And there's a very funny research where they will have people wear T-shirts with like really, really unfashionable band names, like where they would be like, oh my gosh, everybody's just going to be rolling their eyes out of their head when they see me wearing this T-shirt, this super out of fashion band. And then they'll ask the people, did you notice what was on this person's T-shirt? And it's like, they didn't even read they didn't even notice what was on the T-shirt. So it is very comforting to realize we feel much more self-conscious then we are actually attracting people's attention. But the thing that you say about decision, it's interesting. I would love to have known that, because some of the aphorisms have illustrations or like a little story, just because I couldn't resist. And one of them was when trying to make a tough decision. And then I list a couple things that you can try. Like one is choose the bigger life, which might have worked in your situation. Another is step into the future, because, sometimes you're like, one decision will take me back to the way things were and one will move me into the future. And a lot of times that's very anxiety provoking, but the future is coming. And being stuck in the past has a lot of risks to it, even if it feels safer sometimes. But anyway, I like yours, which is
make a decision and then make it the right decision.
Make it the right decision. Or I sometimes tell myself there's no wrong decision here.
Yes. In my case, I needed to consult like 8 more people. And finally somebody said, like, I think you're ready. I think they basically said to me, will you learn anything more from this next theater internship that you didn't do from the last one? And I said, well, maybe not really. Then like, okay, then you're ready for the next thing to step into the future.
There you go. That's really interesting. There's a lot in Secrets of Adulthood about decision making, because I do feel like that is one of the big challenges of adulthood is an apple and an orange. How do you choose? How do you decide? Why now? Maybe we should wait. Another aphorism that I remind myself of all the time is, do you need more information or do you need to make a decision? Which maybe would have been another thing to tell you, because you're like, I'm asking person after person after person after person, thinking like, sort of telling yourself, well, I'll get a piece of information that will reveal it. But it's not really the kind of thing where like a fact is going to be decisive for you. You really needed to make a decision. And that's something I'm always like, I need to talk to my husband about this. It's like, no, I don't. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't need to weigh in. I just am trying, or I'm like, I ask him, what time should I leave for the airport? Because, in New York City, it's such a complicated thing to figure out. And I'm like, he doesn't want to figure that out. Why is that his problem? It's not. He won't tell me. Figure it out.
Make a decision. So the book is called Secrets of Adulthood. And it's sort of, I think, inspired by the idea that you have these 2 young women, your kids, who are starting their adult life, and you want to give them these ideas that hopefully allow young adults to jump the line, right? Like learn from our mistakes.
Yes.
And that, which is certainly what I try to do in my own writing as well. Like, well, don't do it this way. But if yours is do it this way, mine is more like, for heaven's sake, don't do it this way. But I think all the time about this idea of, can they learn from an aphorism enough to make the decision that's right for them instead of the one that feels safer at 22? You know what I mean? Can the right aphorism get through to them? I guess sometimes it can. But what's been your experience in helping younger listeners or younger people sort of learn from these things?
Well, to your point, there's a wonderful aphorism from Benjamin Franklin in his guise as Poor Richard, because of course, Benjamin Franklin is a very famous aphorist. And he says, experience keeps a dear school meaning an expensive school. Experience keeps a dear school, and a fool will learn in no other. Meaning a lot of times we just have to learn things the hard way. Yeah, you can't jump the line. You got to go through it yourself to get it. But I do think, to invoke another proverb, because I can do this all day long, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I do think that sometimes it's not that we're like telling them something that they're not ready to hear and then all of a sudden like they get it. But I do think sometimes reading something can give you a moment of illumination or clarity. To me, that my favorite kind of aphorism is when I read something and I think, I've noticed that myself. I knew that all along, but I just never quite put it into words. And so all of a sudden, my own mind feels so much clearer to me. And I do think that there are periods, just like you said, when like you were young, you were in a tough situation and somebody told you something, but if you hadn't been ready to hear that, you wouldn't have remembered it 10 minutes later either. It would have just gone in one ear and out the other, but somehow you were ready, but you kind of did need somebody to put it into those words to allow you to hear it in that way. It might have taken you longer had somebody not kind of articulated that idea and kind of that reassurance to you. Like, you're not going to mess up your life forever. You just need to move forward in some way and get out of this analysis paralysis. So I do think that sometimes we can, and my hope is that with something like this, maybe it will kind of speed the process because you've got a bunch of these. It's like, you need something about relationships, but you need something about making decisions, and you need something about self-knowledge. Like, consider these. Maybe one will hit.
Right. And you are meeting them. It occurs to me that they're not like, do it this way, like never marry a guy who doesn't have friends or whatever. They're like...
Oh, that's a good one, though. I have a friend who got a divorce and she said one of the big red flags I should have had is he didn't have any friends.
That's interesting.
There you
But-
go. See, you're dropping these
Like,
pearls
I'm
of
an
wisdom
aphorism.
yourself. There's room in the back for the book. You got to write that in the back of the book, and then you'll give it to your kids. Yeah.
I'm talking to Gretchen Rubin about her new book, Secrets of Adulthood. We'll be right back. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that, taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. So Gretchen, I wanted to ask you why these are secrets. Because they shouldn't be, but they are.
Why are they secrets? Because we've all got to figure them out for ourselves. Like, they actually are not so secret. If you look at, and one of the things that was really fun in doing this is with aphorisms, you will see many, many great minds articulating the same idea in different words. So it's interesting to compare how one great mind will articulate something very differently, but essentially making the same point. So a lot of these ideas are too important to be new. People have been talking about this forever. Or maybe they say the opposite, because another one of my secrets of adulthood is the opposite of a profound truth is also true. So a lot of times it's like absence makes the heart grow fonder, and out of sight, out of mind. Both are true.
That was one of the ones I wrote down and ask you about. So the opposite of a profound truth. And I thought I don't understand that. Give me an example. And you just gave me a great example.
Okay. Well, and here more, because a lot of times in the classical form of an aphorism, they are often expressed in kind of a surprising way, like we say with alliteration or rhyming maybe, but also paradox. That's a very common thing. And several of the secrets of adulthood do contain paradox, because I think both things are true. And one that I think is particularly relevant to parents and children was a paradox that I had puzzled me for a long time as a parent, because I'm like, look, I love my daughters with all my heart. They are perfect, just the way they are. So why do I spend so much time nagging them and nudging them? And I realized love is unconditional and love is demanding. Love accepts you just as you are, and love expects the best from you. Both are true. Both are true. Both are expressions of boundless love, but both are true. We have to accept ourselves and often also expect more from ourselves. So on the one hand, we have to accept ourselves, show ourselves self-compassion, be willing to say, hey, that's not my thing. That's not for me. And really embrace who we are. But on the other hand, we got to push outside our comfort zone, do things that are uncomfortable, stretch, push, be willing to try things, fail things even, risk. We have to accept ourselves and also expect more from ourselves. So that's what I mean by the opposite.
Yeah, that's a paradox. I get stuck on that one sometimes. Like, you're okay and also work harder.
Yes, no. When I was writing the Happiness Project, I just got tangled up in that because I couldn't understand what frame of mind I should be pursuing. And then I was like, oh, both are true. Another one is, and this was one related to happiness, again, a paradox that really puzzled me for a long time, which was one of the best ways to make yourself happy is to make other people happy. This is very appropriate to you, Amy, given the title of your recent book. Yeah. One of the best ways to make ourselves happy is to make other people happy. And this is one of the nicest things about human nature. But one of the best ways to make other people happy is to be happy ourselves. And that's very true. Research shows emotions are contagious. Happier people tend to make other people happier. We lift people up with our happiness. You can't make someone be happy, but you can definitely influence them. And then if you're happier, your behavior tends to support other people's happier. Plus you volunteer more, donate more money, pay your taxes, vote, all that, So there's a huge amount of research showing that that's true. Both are true.
So happier people are more pro-social people?
They are. And in fact, there's a huge amount of research, like, is it cause or effect? And it seems like it's both.
Very interesting.
So one of the best ways to make yourself happy is to make other people happy. One of the best ways to make other people happy is to be happy yourself. Both are true.
What about, here's one I wanted to unpack a little bit. What we do every day matters more than what we do once in a while.
Okay, can I just say about that line? I wrote that line as part of writing my book Better Than Before, which was all about habit change, which was the 21 ways we can make or break our habits. And I wrote that sentence not thinking that it was an aphorism, just thinking that it was just a transition statement. It was something so obvious as to just be like, I'm just starting down my discussion of the don't break the chain strategy. But so many people are like, this blew my mind. This was such a revelation to me. Now I see my whole life differently. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I guess I wrote an aphorism without realizing it. Maybe because of my nature, I am so rigid and calendar bound that just seems perfectly obvious to me. But many people have commented that to them that felt very helpful.
And I think it's true. I mean, whenever people have asked me, how did you get this book done? It's like, you have to touch it every day because it's easier to touch it every day than to touch it every 3 days. It just is.
1,000%. It's such a good creative lesson. I have a friend, she's a very well-known writer, and he's a very well-established painter, this couple. And so when they have a thing like, can you work for 10 minutes? Meaning, are you so inside of a project that you could sit down and do something productive in just 10 minutes? And to be in that state of immersion, you have to be in it all the time. And I think you're right. I think that really staying connected like that is more powerful than people
If you take
realize.
A couple of days off, that's when I would do the work that's really procrastination when you come back. Let me just read what I wrote so far, right? Let me just read the research again.
So I feel like it's much easier to do something every day than to do it sometimes. But I'm kind of an all or nothing person, but I'm a big believer in just do it every day.
What about this one? A quest is more fun than a jaunt. I wasn't sure I knew what that meant.
I just have observed this. It's more fun to, let's say you've got some time and you're in a new city. It's more fun to be like, oh, I'm going to go visit that museum, or, oh, I'm going to see if there's like a vintage thrift store here to go explore. Oh, I'm going to look at the grocery store. It's always fun to go to a grocery store in a new place. And like, I'm in a whole different part of the country. Like, what is their grocery store like? It's more fun to go on a quest than to just wander around. I often think, because I visit the Met every day, because that's one of my things that I do every day is I visit the Metropolitan Museum. And sometimes sometimes I like to wander because I do enjoy wandering, but sometimes I give myself a quest. Like I'll open up a book that I have that has all the masterpieces in it, and I'll pick one at random, and then I'll be like, okay, can I go right to it? Do I know the museum well enough that I know exactly where that is? And like sometimes it's hard, and I read up about it and I go look at it. And so now it's a quest instead of a jaunt.
I mean, that's an incredible example. Not all of us live within walking distance of the
I
Met.
know.
I live
Note to
pretty
self.
close, and I don't take advantage of it like you do. But it is an example. Help me pull out of that an example for somebody who doesn't live near the Met, but who can have a practice every day that creates a bigger life in the end for yourself.
I don't know if a quest is more fun than a jaunt would work for people every day, but I would say like one way that people use this very commonly is having a collection. They're always on the lookout for anything that has a pelican on it because the pelican is their personal symbol. So they're like, oh, I'm going to go, oh, there's that like that really cool art store. I'm going to go see if they have anything pelican related. It just gives you a little quest. Or I have a friend who collects very cheap globes. So I think her limit is she won't pay more than $20 for a globe. But so she's always on the hunt for a globe. And sometimes they're new, like there's some kind of Lego globe or something like that. And then sometimes they're like thrift store globes or whatever, but it gives her a quest. Or maybe you're like, I'm going to try every hamburger in my hometown and just rank them. And so you're always like, oh, let's grab some lunch. Let's go to this hamburger joint that I haven't tried yet because I really need to have the hamburger for my collection. I think this is why people go to stadiums. Like, people who are like, we're going to go to every baseball stadium in the United States.
That was my dad, every baseball stadium. And then they build a new one and you go to that one, right?
Yeah, we're going to go camping at every national park or whatever. It's a quest. So it's like you have that feeling of now I'm like one closer to having done every baseball stadium, instead of just being like, it's fun to go to a baseball game. Because now you have a reason to travel. You have it's a whole.
And I like that it can be small too. Like I like stuff that has pelicans on it, and I'm going to keep an eye out for pelicans because then the quest is sort of low key and eternal, right? It's sort of always there, and it brings a little bit of happiness to every day.
You have a signature color and you're all like, oh, I'm always looking for things in mint green, and like, oh, I need to get a cell phone case. So like now I'm on a quest for a really good looking mint green cell phone case. I'm not just grabbing the first thing I see. Now, for some people, they just want to grab the first thing they see because they're like, who cares? But it can be more fun to be on the hunt. There is a satisfaction set.
So this book is perfect for graduates, for people entering a new phase of life. But really, that's one type of reader. Like that's who it's perfect to buy for as a gift. But really, I mean, anybody reading this book would get something out of it. But when you were writing it, what type of reader did you imagine?
Really, I wrote them for myself. I was like, what have I observed? What have I learned? What was really most helpful for me? And so, for me, research is me search, and I'm always writing for myself because the only way I can learn something is to write about it. And so, to be honest, I am the one who needs this advice the most or these insights the most. But then I do feel like sometimes you will say something to people. Like I asked my daughters, who frankly feel like innocent bystanders and all this, but I did say to them, well, what has stuck with you of all these things that I'm constantly saying? What stuck with you? And my older daughter said the one that she thinks of the most is, you're unique just like everyone else. And maybe back to this idea of Margaret, like in the spotlight effect, she's like, on the one hand, I'm super special and I'm my own person and there's no one like me. But on the other hand, I'm not so different from other people. And she's like, that's kind of reassuring, And then my younger daughter said that it was, don't expect to be motivated by motivation. Just because she says that's true. Just feeling motivated to do something doesn't mean that you're actually going to make any effort to actually follow through. And so she thought that was very helpful.
I've been talking to Gretchen Rubin. Her new best-selling book is Secrets of Adulthood, Simple Truths for Our Complex Lives. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can buy the book on Bookshop or wherever you buy books. And Gretchen, tell our listeners where else they can find you.
Go to GretchenRubin.com. There you can take my personality quizzes. You can read about my books. You can read about all different kinds of subjects related to happiness. I also have a 5 Things Making Me Happy newsletter. It's free. It's weekly where I talk about things making me happy. I have the Happier podcast for podcast listeners. It's one that I do with my sister, who's a TV writer in Hollywood, and we talk about how to make our lives happier. It's very practical and fun, I think. Weekly podcast. And then I'm on social media under Gretchen Rubin. So I'm in all the places. And I love to hear people's insights, observations, examples, resources, especially if you have any resources about the empty nest, open door phase, because I am like right in the thick of researching it. Hit me up. I love to connect with people about the subjects that fascinate me.
Thanks, Gretchen. You make me happy. Just talking to you has made me feel happy.
Oh, well, thank you. It was so fun to talk to you, as always.